Hello dear students. In this video, we will see what do you mean by two-phase locking protocol. After having understood what do you mean by lock and two types of lock, shared lock and exclusive lock, in this second video, we will see what do you mean by two-phase locking protocol. Two-phase locking is a very simplistic protocol or set of rules which tell when can a transaction acquire lock and when can it release lock. It's all about time or the procedure at which the transaction can take a lock and transaction can release a lock. So it's the best way to understand what's happening in two-phase locking protocol is to see this graph. Just imagine this is time axis. Why imagine? It is time axis. As the time goes on, this particular axis can be seen from the start of the transaction, that is t begin, and here is the transaction ending. So this is the time at which the transaction ends. Now as the transaction starts at this point, it can acquire locks. This is the phase where the transaction is only acquiring locks or it is requesting locks. This is known as growing phase, where the transaction is allowed to only acquire, check my words, it is allowed to only acquire locks. That means in this particular phase, you cannot execute unlock operation. Now, after gaining all the locks, now the procedure is that the transaction which has acquired all the locks is using that locks for reading or writing in this region. And now starts the shrinking phase here. This is known as shrinking phase, in which the transaction is allowed to only release the locks. So typically you will see some transaction, calls for please lock A, lock B, I'm writing in short, lock C. Once it has done, it starts operations. It can lock A, then maybe read A. This is of course shared lock. Once it has acquired exclusive lock on B, it can write B, and so on. But then once it calls an unlock operation, suppose unlock A, once it calls the unlock operation, it should only unlock after this. It should call only unlock operation. That means once a transaction has executed unlock operation on any data item which it had locked before, after this, the transaction cannot lock some other data item, let's say D. Locking is allowed only in the growing phase. And once the unlocking starts, it's known as shrinking phase. The transaction can only unlock the data items which it had locked before. So it has typically, it has two phases. That is why it is known as two-phase protocol. In the two-phase protocol, you can see that the first part, when the execution of the transaction starts, it seeks or it basically tries to take permission for the lock it requires. In the second part, however, the transaction acquires the locks. Actually, this is the first part only. I'm so sorry. First part. The transaction acquires the locks and basically it has got all the locks which it needed. But in the second phase, I'm so sorry for this. Uh, is started as soon as transaction starts releasing its first lock. Whatever locks it has acquired in the second phase, it starts releasing the locks, and here is where shrinking phase starts. So you can see why it is known as a two phase locking protocol. I think this should not be confusing where I said first part. I meant this is the first part of the graph, this is the second part of the graph, and this is the third part of the graph. So in the first part, it tries to acquire the lock. In the second part, it starts using those locks for reading or writing once it has acquired it. And in the third phase, shrinking starts. But basically, there are only two phases, growing phase and shrinking phase. That's why it is known as two-phase locking protocol. Here is an example. Example speaks enough, isn't it? Let's say that there are two transactions T1 and T2 running concurrently. Look at this. T1 tries to acquire shared lock on A, correct? After that, T2 tries to acquire shared lock on A. You know that both these operations are possible because shared locks are, as the name suggests, two transactions can acquire shared lock on same data item simultaneously. Next, you watch in T1, T1 tries to acquire exclusive lock on B, which is possible because no other transaction up there has acquired exclusive lock on B yet. Now check this very interesting thing. Unlock A. Once T1 starts unlocking any data item, then shrinking phase starts. And what about this phase here, which I am marking? This is growing phase, where it is continuously trying to acquire locks. And now, from this phase, from this point onwards, unlocking starts. You can see that now there cannot be any lock operation between the two unlocks. First unlock should be followed only by unlocks. That's shrinking. Similarly, you see T2 transaction. Lock A, lock C, correct? Exclusive lock C. And once it starts unlocking, it should only call unlock operations. This is the shrinking phase. This is the shrinking phase in transaction T2. So where are the growing phase and shrinking phase? Growing phase of T1 is this region, isn't it? Where it tries to lock. This is growing phase. Shrinking phase, this from where it starts unlocking, this is the shrinking phase. What is the growing phase of T2? When it starts acquiring locks till the last lock it needed. This is the growing phase. And once it starts unlocking, this is the shrinking phase. We have got a very interesting term called lock point. Whenever you talk about two-phase locking protocol, then every transaction has a lock point. Every transaction has a lock point. What is the lock point here is, it is the point, it is the point at which the last lock which transaction needed was successfully acquired. You can see that after this lock xb, there is no more locking done, correct? So this point is known as lock point because after this point no more locks are acquired. Similarly, you watch this point over here. This is the point where last lock was acquired, which T2 needed. After this, there are no more locks requested. So these are the lock points, as I am labeling, of both transactions T1 and T2. So lock point for T1, I'll write LP. Lock point for T1 is third statement. See this third statement. After this, there are no more locks, correct? And lock point for T2 is sixth statement. Check this. After this, there are no more locks acquired. There is something interesting about lock point. See, if you see lock points of T1 and T2 over here, whose lock point comes first is the point. See, the lock point of T1 comes first, isn't it? As it comes on third line. And lock point of T2 comes next as it comes on sixth line here, isn't it? So what's so interesting about it? If you write the transactions in the increasing order of their lock points, whose lock point comes first? T1. And whose lock point comes last? T2. If you write them in the increasing order of their lock points, then you get equivalent serial schedule. Equivalent serial schedule for the given concurrent schedule. That means this particular schedule shown on the left here, concurrent schedule, this concurrent schedule is serializable, with this serial schedule. Note, it is not serializable, with serial schedule T2 followed by T1. Okay, this is also serial schedule, isn't it? T2 can run first, then T1 runs, but it is serializable. It is equivalent to only this serial schedule because we have written transactions in the increasing order of lock points. So this skeleton has been explained over here. What is the growing phase of T1? What is the shrinking phase? What is the lock point? I said lock point of T1 is 3. Similarly, I have described for T2. I have explained what is the lock point, isn't it? When a transaction takes the final lock it needs to carry its work, that point is known as lock point. Very interesting fact is, just don't remember this fact, that two-phase locking protocol ensures serializability. What that means is, if you have all the transactions in a given schedule following two-phase protocol, check my words, every transaction in the given schedule is obeying two-phase locking protocol, then that complete schedule is serializable. That means it is equivalent to one of the serial schedules. This is very interesting because we want that concurrent schedules must be serializable. If they are serializable, then they are equivalent to some serial schedules, and we know serial schedules are always consistent. They give us the correct result, isn't it? Let's continue with some more examples about two-phase locking protocol. Here is an example shown on empty slide. We have a concurrent schedule containing two transactions T1 and T2. Let's understand whether both transactions are following two-phase locking protocol. I would just suggest all the readers over here not to take the operations of these transactions seriously, because you might wonder, why is T1 reading A? Why is T2 writing C? Just forget it. We are looking at it from locking and unlocking point of view. Check. T1 starts locking A. That means this is growing phase. After that, it doesn't unlock anything, but it continues locking. See this, locking B, and and after this point here, it doesn't acquire any more locks. So this is the lock point. This is the lock point where it acquires last lock that it needs. But then later it starts unlocking something. Once T1 starts unlocking, it can only unlock. It can't acquire any lock now. Then this is shrinking phase. You can see that once T1 starts unlocking, it continuously only unlocks the locks that it had acquired. So this obeys, T1 obeys two-phase locking protocol. Let's see whether T2 obeys two-phase locking protocol. T2 acquires lock. Now remember, it can only acquire lock in growing phase. Can't release locks. It can only lock, it can't unlock in growing phase. So it acquires lock, okay, it acquires exclusive lock here, fine. And then it stops locking anything, because after this point of time, there is no more locks acquired. So this is the locking point. This point is the locking point, isn't it? You can see that as T2 starts unlocking, it only unlocks. It doesn't call any lock operation. So this is the shrinking phase. I mean, both these transactions are obeying the two-phase locking protocol. Then we say this schedule given, S is the schedule given containing two transactions, is serializable. And what is the equivalent serial schedule? Come on, it has to be T1 followed by T2. Why? Because lock point of T1 is before the lock point of T2. Check this. This is the lock point, isn't it? Lock point of T1, and lock point of T2 comes later. So T1 should run first, and after that T2 should run. Let's look at one more example. Is this schedule containing T1 and T2 serializable? That means, is this following two-phase locking protocol? No, because you can see that T1 starts locking A and it unlocks A. So you might say, so what? It seems that it doesn't need A anymore, so it has unlocked it. But the problem over here comes later. Note that it has locked A for exclusive, that is writing purpose, then it has unlocked A. Now, after unlocking, the transaction cannot request for any more locks. It can only unlock from now onwards. That means here itself you can see that two-phase locking protocol is not followed by T1. What about T2? If you see that T2 locks B over here. This, I think this is the first lock. Yeah, T2. T2 starts locking B. It writes B and it unlocks. But once T2 unlocks any of the data item, it cannot ask for new locks because now it is in shrinking phase. So this is also not allowed, isn't it? So T2 is also not following two-phase locking protocol. Then is this schedule serializable? Serializable? The answer is it may or may not be. May not. We will have to check whether it is equivalent to one of the serial schedules, just as we saw in serializability chapter. Correct? But the point is that the schedule which does not follow two-phase locking protocol, we don't know anything about it. It may or may not be serializable, but the schedule which follows 2PL, correct, is always serializable. Is always serializable. Nice. Okay, let's get back to our slides here and try to understand that there are some drawbacks of two-phase locking protocol. Of course, one advantage we saw of two-phase locking protocol is that schedules which follow two-phase locking protocols are always serializable. But then there are two drawbacks. One is cascading rollback may be there in two-phase locking protocol, and second disadvantage is that there might be a deadlock that we will see in the next video on two-phase locking protocol. Thank you very much.